welcome to the HRC Greater New York Corporate Kickoff. I'm Maria Fasulo, and this is Craig DeGroot, Craig Colbert, and we are the co-chairs for the HRC Greater New York 2015 Gala. This year it's going to be held January 31st. Everyone get out little things. January 31st, 2015, at the Waldorf Astoria as usual. But before we get started tonight, I just want to put thanks out to Bill Bunce and the staff of the W at Union Square, as well as the HRC National W contacts, Anthony Ingham, Suzanne Cohen, and Wendy Vivador for generously underwriting this event. Actually, we are also very thrilled to have Billy Bean from Major League Baseball here. He's on his way. So please join me in thanking all of them and for their continued support of the Human Rights Committee.
This evening we'll be sharing an update of some of HRC's important work, announcing the 2015 winner of our Corporate Quality Award, and sharing information about the Greater New York Gala there being held in January. Many of you have already heard from one of our team members, but if tonight inspires you to renew your sponsorship commitment or get involved with the gala, please come and see one of us. Now is the time to come on as a sponsor and start getting those benefits that the HRC can provide. We're now going to turn things over to Greg Battaglia and Rob Hornick, our corporate committee co-chairs. I hope to see all of you at the big event in January. Greg and Rob, come on out.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Greg Battaglia, and the Greater New York Gala is really a special event, so thank you guys all for joining us tonight. We are here to celebrate our community's recent victories and to thank those individuals and companies that really enable HRC's work. And with people like Anna Wintour, Whoopi Goldberg, Patty Lapone, and Margaret Russell, we certainly have some fun as well. We also take time at each year's gala to recognize one company for their commitment to LGBT community, to the mission of HRC, and with awarding them the Corporate Equality Award. As you may know, HRC's mission is to end discrimination against LGBT people and to realize a nation that achieves fundamental fairness for all. As you know, without the support of corporate America, our journey towards equality would not be where it is today. From the business coalitions for ENDA and marriage equality to the well-known Corporate Equality Index, HRC has led the way in encouraging companies to become more visible in their support for the LGBT community. In 2014, 304 companies achieved 100% on the CEI. We're proud to announce that the 2015 Corporate Equality Award honoree was one of those companies. This year's awardee in January will be GE. Not only did GE score 100% on the 2014 HRC Corporate Equality Index, they have an amazing record of public support for the LGBT community. They have fully supportive transgender health benefits, same-sex spousal and partnership benefits. They're taking senior engagement to the next level by incorporating fireside chats, and they're holding ally workshops to connect the C-suite to the LGBT cause. As their first act to support federal legislation, GE chose the Business Coalition for Workplace Fairness and signed on in October of 2013 to publicly support the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. While we'll hear more when we present the official award in January at the gala, here to represent the 9th company on the Fortune 100 list and its more than 5,000 GLBTA Alliance members is Ryan Stanton, Chief Risk Officer from GE Capital.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks to everyone and to the HRC for the recognition. This is really special for the General Electric company. You know, it's not just the company and the executives, but it's also the 6,000 plus members that we have in the GLBT community and allies that made this happen. We're deeply honored and humbled by the award that will be shared with the entire team for the efforts that have made this possible. Let's step back for a second and say that, you know, it was more than a decade ago that GE leaned into supporting the GLBT community across the company with recognition of same-sex benefits and also including sexual orientation in their non-discrimination policy. But that was more than a decade ago. And one of the things that we learned and the benefit of the index gave us some feedback around this is that you have to make continuous improvement. You have to lean into continuing to move with the times and moving the organization forward. And over time, watching the index, we weren't landing where we needed to be. We weren't at that 100% level. And that told us something about ourselves. And people, particularly the people who led some of the Alliance initiatives, it was a wake-up call for the company to remind us what more we needed to do, what continuing efforts we needed to take to support not only the employees in the GE company, but also people in the community. And you know, to that end, the company took action with the benefit of the feedback from the index, and as Greg mentioned, took a number of initiatives around transgender issues and recognizing same-sex marriage benefits for people no matter where they work and no matter where they were married, supporting some of the initiatives with the amicus brief and the Supreme Court and urging for the right to marry. And one of the things I would just encourage people to do is, this is sort of a never-ending effort. You have to continue to lean into it, having advocates within the company to remind people what to do, to sponsor. And for us, and I joined the company about 4 or 5 years ago, I never had a sense that the company wasn't there in the spirit, that the executives I met weren't on side in terms of not only personal beliefs, but what they wanted to do. But you have to take action. There have to be overt actions. And together with people in the Alliance, we spurred people along on that front. And we've had great conversations going in the company by engaging the senior leadership team in lots of dialogue and lots of discussions around the company. So it really works. The connection with the HRC really works to help give us that feedback, to help share best practices around what to do, to help create a community of people where we can share some dialogue. So very grateful for that connection. And we will be joining the gala at the end of January, and hope that we'll see everybody there as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. We look forward to hearing more and celebrating with you and GE at the gala in January. One of the most dramatic effects of the victories of the past year is how we now have 2 different Americas for LGBT citizens. Living in some states, LGBT Americans are afforded the same exact privileges and protections as others, from marriage equality to workplace and housing discrimination laws. But by just crossing a state line, protections from discrimination and even fundamental relationship recognition often simply evaporate. A big priority for HRC is to focus energy and resources on those areas in the country where the fight is harder, but where our efforts are critical to creating one America with liberty and justice for all. Our next speaker is at the forefront of that fight. He leads a highly collaborative program integrating HRC's existing political and advocacy work, communications and membership campaigns, and HRC Foundation programs, into an exciting new push for equality everywhere, for everyone. Please join me in welcoming Brad Clark, HRC's Director of Project One America.
Well, thank you for that introduction, and thank all of you for being here this evening. You know, I just want to take a bit of time and tell you a little bit about some of the work going on at the Human Rights Campaign, and really due to so much of your support. You know, no matter how many of these receptions I go to, I never quite get used to it. Perhaps like some of you in the room, I grew up a little bit differently. I grew up in one of those places a lot of folks call flyover state. You know, I grew up in small town Iowa, where some of you may have been flown over, but I grew up going to Republican hog roasts on the weekends with my grandmother. You know, that same grandma who still to this day bakes a birthday cake for Jesus at Christmas time. Saves a seed at the dinner table for Jesus, the whole thing. So, you know, every victory that we've had just really reminds me of growing up as a little gay kid in the middle of Iowa, just how rapidly this progress is that we're seeing. You know, since the Supreme Court ruled in our favor just over a year ago, 21 federal court rulings have struck down state marriage bans and cited that U.S. Supreme Court decision. That's not to mention the over 70 court cases that are still challenging marriage bans in 30 states throughout our country. So with every passing day, more and more Americans are coming to the right side of history. They're now in support of the freedom to marry. And this sort of momentum is not only unprecedented, I think for many of us, I know myself included, completely unimaginable, even just a short time ago. We've come so far, but the race for equality is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And while we've made remarkable leaps forward, the finish line for so many of us is still far off into the distance. You know, today, millions of LGBT people all across this country still live on the other side of a dark wall of discrimination, a wall that essentially divides this country into two Americas. In one America, mostly on the coast, places like New York and California, even while there's work left to be done in classrooms and church pews and around dinner tables, full legal equality is darn near a reality. But in the other America, you know, places like I come from in the Midwest or in the Mountain West or throughout the South, even the most fundamental protections of the law are non-existent. No inclusive non-discrimination protections, no reliable access to affordable HIV care, no right for same-sex couples to jointly adopt a child together, and certainly no marriage equality. We're here today because we know equality is not just a New York or a California value, it's an American value. And I know it's a value that so many of my friends in places like Mississippi and Alabama and Arkansas share just as much as anyone else. But while a same-sex couple living here in New York or in California can get married, have housing protections, have full legal rights to their children, and know that their children cannot be bullied for their or their parents' sexual orientation or gender identity, an LGBT person in Montgomery or in Jackson or in Little Rock can be legally fired by their employer for no other reason than who they are or whom they love. And that's why earlier this year, HRC proudly launched Project One America. It's an unprecedented new permanent equality campaign in Mississippi, Alabama, and Arkansas. States where, until just a couple of weeks ago, there was not even one single city that had its municipal equality for their LGBT citizens. You know, HRC has long been the largest LGBT organizer throughout the South. In fact, one third of our members actually live in the South. But the simple truth is that these three states in particular have long been the most underserved by the national LGBT movement. You know, advocates on the ground have been working tirelessly for decades, and we're extremely proud to join them in this work. And frankly, the need and the demand for our work has never, ever been greater. You know, earlier this year, we conducted a needs assessment of LGBT people living in the South. And what we found was quite startling. You know, nearly 65% of LGBT people in these states have been verbally harassed on the street or in the workplace. A quarter of LGBT folks have experienced discrimination in the workplace or in places of public accommodation. Perhaps most startling what we found was that a quarter of all LGBT people raising children have absolutely no legal right to their child. 1/4 of these folks. And some of you may know this, but Mississippi, in any state in our country, actually has the highest number of LGBT people raising children. So this won't be some sort of flyby operation. Project One America has a 3-year budget of $8.5 million. dedicated office space in Little Rock and Jackson and Montgomery, and a full-time staff of 20. This is the largest coordinated campaign for LGBT equality in the history of the South. You know, this past year I spent a lot of time on the road, traveling throughout the South, and literally eating my way through the South. And you truly haven't experienced the South until my boss Chad teaches you how to use French fries as a spoon in order to eat one of those Wendy's Frosties. It's quite amazing. But, you know, along the way we've heard so many incredible stories. And, you know, stories not just of heartbreak, but stories of courage and hope and resiliency. You know, it was a couple of months ago that I sat with a mother of 4 in Montgomery, Alabama, and she told me her story. This mother had been in her home for many years, and one day not that long ago, her landlord asked her to come to church with her. And being a church-going woman herself, of course, she said yes. But after attending that Southern Baptist church, the landlord asked her if she was ready to convert. The woman asked to what, with a great deal of confusion. And the landlord's response was swift. Are you ready to become straight? The woman, of course, said that that wasn't possible, and the very next day she received an eviction notice. In Montgomery, in that other America, there are no protections, there's no recourse, and there's no questions. The mother of 4 lost her home simply for being gay. But hope is everywhere. You know, just last week I was in Florence, Alabama, a rural community in northern Alabama. I met a young kid there, and he told me, you know, it was just a couple of years ago that he realized that his family wasn't like everyone else's. When he was 13, he started noticing other people staring at him and his 2 moms in local stores or on the street in their small rural community. Sometimes his mom would abruptly shuffle the family out of a local restaurant because she was afraid. Now he's 16, and earlier this year he started the first Gay Straight Alliance at Florence High School. Just a couple of weeks ago, they had 50 students come to their meeting. That is incredible hope. There's so much change available in the South. And that spirit is not unique to my friend Griffin or his 2 moms. We're seeing this time and time again across the South that people are ready for change. So whether it's a non-discrimination ordinance in Fayetteville, Arkansas, a gathering of church leaders discussing marriage in Jackson, Mississippi, a Gay Straight Alliance in Florence, Alabama, or the countless employers who are standing up for inclusive workplaces from places like Alabama Power and Walmart, the South truly is ready for equality. You know, tonight, I know that you believe, like I do, that the rising tide for equality, full legal equality, cannot leave anyone behind. After all, that's why I assume you're here this evening. You're here for that young lesbian, teenager, or that young trans kid who tonight will go to bed on the other side of that dark wall of discrimination. Not in Los Angeles, but in Little Rock. Not in Manhattan, but in Montgomery. And not in San Francisco, but in Selma. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm in this for the long haul. I'm here to fight until that lesbian teenager in Montgomery or that young trans kid in Little Rock can grow up with the same hopes, the same dreams, and the same rights as their New York counterparts. None of this work would be available without all of your support, and I thank you so, so much for all the work that you've done to make the achievements we've seen so successful, but also all the work we have yet to do ahead of us. Thank you all so much for your support, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Brad. We look forward to hearing more about Project One America and celebrating all of its successes at the gala in January. We also hope that we will see all of you there as well. Would all of our gala committee members please raise their hands? Gala committee members? Members of the gala planning team and our corporate team are here with us in the room this evening. You can see them with their hands up. Please take a moment to speak with them or with Greg or myself about how you and your organization can support the Human Rights Campaign and the 2015 Greater New York Gala. Also, placed throughout the room are boards highlighting the current national and local sponsors. Accompanying them are information boards showing the different levels of partnership that are still available. If you would like more information about the event itself, on the back and side of your name tags is a web address for the New York City HRC Gala that has all of the information relevant for the 2015 event. So on behalf of all of us on the Gala planning team, as well as the entire HRC organization, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I invite you now to stick around, enjoy the food and drinks, and talk to one of us about HRC's vital work and how you can join us in our continued fight for equality. We sincerely appreciate all of your support, and we look forward to seeing you at the Waldorf on January 31st.